Salutations, my fellow dudes and dudettes, and welcome back to Tales of Destiny, Part 15. Last time we tracked down Batista, he finally met his end, and now we can finally track down Lydon. And apparently him and the King of Aquavale are sort of in cahoots with one another to try and invade Sunguild, and now we're going to try and within this part we're going to be doing our best to stop that plan. Pretty simple, but things are not as easy as they appear. For we're going to do some warehouse stuff. Rabbit's Foot. I'll explain what these items do in a bit, because there are 2 items you can get out of this warehouse, as long as you push the corresponding boxes into the correct spots. There are technically 2 warehouses I could have done this part, but I'm going to wait until next part to do the other one. Because... jumping the gun on this part is just, honestly, I think it was going to be just as long as the previous part, if not just a little shorter. No, actually, no, I think it ended up being longer or something. Because whereas last part I managed to shrink it down to, I shrunk it down from 50 to like 30 something. This part wasn't as long, when I was actually recording it. Editing it, however, it only shortened it by a whopping, like, 10 minutes, so it's roughly around the same time. So I guess that didn't really do anything in the grand scheme of things. I'm just setting up some equipment right here, because, something I neglected to do for a while was actually equip Vilea with actual, stuff. So I'm going to be doing that real quick, as well as upgrading whoever I need to. I wish I had that blue talisman I neglected back in the previous area, but whatever. I also neglected to get a miracle gel here. If you take the boat in the back in the actual town, and head to the North's house, you can also get a miracle gel. So, not only do I miss out on the blue talisman, I screwed up on getting the miracle gel, but that's fine. As for the 2 items I just acquired, the Rabbit's Foot increases your luck, which only determines the likeliness of you getting items from enemies. So, it increases your item drop rate from battle. And Gnome is the same thing as the other 2 we got earlier in the game. I haven't showed off any of them, I don't think. I believe I still have Ifrit and Undine. Well, Wendine. That's so odd, because we have Ifrit, we just got Gnome, but for some reason Undine is still Wendine, or Wendine. Like, I'm gonna be really confused if Sylph is still named Sylph when we get that item. I don't know if we could get any of the other summon spirit summons, but whatever. So yeah, use Gnome, you can summon this, you can get the summon spirit of Earth to do some damage. And just like a free, it's a one-use item. I ended up not using it in this part. I should probably show them off at least once throughout this playthrough. I just gotta find the right place to do it. I think I know where I could use it Ifrit at least, because we do have an ice area coming up relatively soon, so I could probably use it there for like the boss fight or something maybe. I've been waiting a long time to settle the score. Vengeance will be mine. Carl. Whoa, sorry, I didn't mean to bring you down like this. A song, yeah. I'll sing a song to change the mood. Good idea. Alrighty then, here's my latest tune. And he gets immediately interrupted before he can start his new hit single. I don't know, I don't got a joke for this. And apparently, right before we get to town, we immediately get stopped by a monster. So that's something. I don't even know why this happens, because... oh, like, this... I don't think this monster has any connection to Tiberius or Lydon. It just sort of shows up and stops us in our tracks. And it's a thing. Ugh. Alright, we got a sudden boss fight out of nowhere. We got the Kraken. Now, the Kraken itself, like, on its own, doesn't seem all that threatening, and then it completely changes that note by using Tidal Wave. The Kraken itself doesn't do a whole lot of damage on its own, but it's able to stun you fairly well. And if you let yourself get hit by Tidal Wave too many times, you can actually lose this fight. Which, you know, you lose the fight, you're gonna have to reload that save file, and nobody wants that. So yeah, make a note to not, like, you know, die. Oh yeah, I can also shoot a bunch of, like, blacky smoke projectiles, which I guess makes sense. It is a Kraken, so it probably has 8 base attacks. So I guess the Kraken is the best time to explain this. So I commented on how this game hasn't been all that tough as of up to this point, whereas Tales of Fantasia started to kick your ass as early as Demetel, when we were dealing with Archan or her memories or whatever. And that was a ball-bustingly hard boss for no good reason. And this game has been the polar opposite for the longest time now. We're 15 parts in, and this game hasn't exactly forced our hand. However, that kind of starts to change with this part, because this is, I believe this is definitely the part of the game where the game actually starts asking of you to, like, the game becomes a little more demanding. And you'll see that with not only the dungeon and the enemies within said dungeon, but the boss fight is actually really tough compared to Batista at the very least. And I guess it does make up for that stupid Orgy Queen boss. That was such a one and done sort of thing. Alright, now before we can actually get into the dungeon itself, we're going to have to open the water gate, which allows us to get there. So we're going to talk to this fairy dude, and he's going to allow us to use the boat. Basically, how it controls is he'll ask you a direction, and you can decide which direction to go. Pretty simple, simple explaining. Blah! Self-explanatory. It's like, why couldn't I think of the damn word? So first off, we're gonna go into this house and grab, I believe, a miracle gel and a pine gel, I believe. I think it's pine. Yeah, it's pine, because I am using the item. And then we're going to talk to him again. You have to essentially make 3 trips. You make it to this house for those items. You make it to the second one will get you to the water gate that you can open up. And then the third trip will be getting you to the actual castle itself. A little tedious, but actually it kind of makes you wonder, why can't you just walk around town and make your way to the castle? I guess for some reason they decided to make the castle impassable unless if you use the boat, which I think is kind of silly. And that chest is a life bottle. I actually ended up grabbing that life bottle in my test run because I won't lie, I was caught off guard with the Kraken boss fight, and I actually had to use the life bottle. I think Stan was the one who got knocked out, and that was admittedly shocking, because I don't think I used a life bottle up to that point. Well, okay, maybe I used it during my first test run of Batista, all the way back when we handled the pirate fleet spiel. But since then, and even before that, I haven't had to use a life bottle. Again, this game has been fairly comfortable, but I think this part will definitely show that the kid gloves come off and it's time to actually like take this game seriously. Ooh. And now we're in Terazzi Castle, or Terazzi, and we immediately get interrupted by a boss fight before I can actually gauge my surroundings. Screw you, game. Alright, so we got the monk warriors from before, the dragon newt, and imp snails. Now, the only thing you need to know about the monk soldiers is that they're a bit more aggressive than last time, so they're actually going to actively try and fight back against you this time, getting some basic combo attacks on you. The dragon newt is able to deal fire-based attacks with its sword, where sometimes when it attacks with the sword, it'll actually do fire damage, and you'll take like 3 hits from the combo. Like it'll do like a fire slash, and you'll take like 3 hits from the fire the fire damage itself. As for the imp snails, they're relatively slow, but they have an electric attack that actually has a lot of range, and can hit you multiple times. It doesn't hurt for a lot, but don't let yourself get overwhelmed too much, because you could easily just end up like getting hit over and over again and essentially stun locked for a while. Now this is kind of annoying. You talk to the guard, you pay 500 to get the miracle gel inside the thing, and then you have to pay 500 to leave. It's like, I've heard of entrance fees, but not exit fees. It's like that weird ass joke in Family Guy. It's like, do you know how it's like? I think it's the episode where like Brian meets a dude at a club or something, and they become friends, and then Stewie interrupts like one of their like shows. It's like, do you know how much people pay to get in? Also, how much you charge for them to get out? It's like that sort of joke. Anyways, back on topic. We got the warfishes and the imps again. We already fought the imps, so I don't have to explain those. The warfishes, however, can actually use ice wave, ice wall. The attack that Rudy's most known for. And I think they can also use acid rain. I've only seen him use it once though. And I also, I might be incorrect about this, but I don't think I am. They're also immune to ice attacks, so, or just water, the water element in general. So try not to let Rudy try to combat the warfishes, because she won't get anywhere fast. She will be getting nowhere fast. I think she actually tried to use the ice wall on one of the warfishes during the recording, or maybe the test run. No, it was definitely the recording, and it did like no damage at all. So yeah. Also, my characters level up a lot because you can get a crap ton of experience from these battles. Mostly because, like, up to this point, there are a few parts where I actually went out of my way to grind according to the notes that I have jotted down. And that wasn't really necessary for this part, so I just sort of went, and that's probably a reason why the boss was as tough as it was. In fact, that's probably the reason why every boss I managed wasn't super challenging, because I grinded a little bit beforehand, because that's what my nose told me to. I apologize if I'm doing this game not on my own, based off my own knowledge. And instead I'm using a guide in order to, like a summarized, like a paraphrased guide, so to speak, in order to progress through this game, and I had to do the same for Fantasia. I wanted to cover these games for the channel because of how much I've become a fan of these games, or at least the series. I have just next to no history with the original games. Like, the first game I have genuine experience with will be the first 3D game, which is Symphonia, which we're not going to get to for a while. But when we do get to it, I guarantee you, a lot of that stuff, a lot of the stuff I'm going to be covering in that game is all based off of my own knowledge because of how much I played that game. And play that game I shall. Whew. More on that later. So I guess I should probably explain how this dungeon works. It's like the previous dungeon, but without all the valves. Or the blocks. As a matter of fact, just go in like a generic dungeon with a bunch of enemies just scattered throughout. It's pretty much just a castle with a bunch of enemies. Which I guess is kind of standard for a castle to have, I guess, since we're sort of rampaging it. However, I do think the encounter rate is just as bad in this dungeon. I'm not too sure on that, because I did a double take when I was editing all the footage, and it didn't look like they were, and it didn't necessarily look like they were getting hurt. No, not, what am I saying? That you were encountering enemies as frequently? It didn't seem like that. Also, not only do I level up a lot in this dungeon, there's a lot of skills that are going to be showing off, so that's really cool. Also, throughout the dungeon, there's going to be a lot of juicy beef scattered throughout the area, throughout the dungeon. Use those when you can, because they immediately fill up your sack for 2,000. And we showed off the new attack. I don't remember what the attack was called. But basically, it's a meteor-esque attack where Stan shoots a bunch of fireballs from the sky. At first, when I read the description for the attack, I thought it was just use fireball like 3 times. But no, it's kind of like meteor. It's probably not like actual meteor, but we'll see. Also, Mary levels up. Woo. I should probably get this out of the way too. During my test run, I did play through the dungeon using Carl whenever I needed to, whenever I felt inclined to. You know, just to have him level up alongside the rest of the gang. I chose not to use him at all during the recording. Sadly, because he doesn't learn anything new. Samba and Symphony are the only attack abilities he knows, and he did level up a few times during the test recording, but since we didn't find any notes, nor did he learn anything naturally, I just ultimately decided to just bench him for the for this part. Which is a shame, because I kind of like him. I think he's got potential to be a decent party member. It's just I didn't get any use out of him during the test run, so I just didn't bother. I was like, yeah, you're great, you're good at playing music, but you're not very good at battle. Brook from One Piece, he ain't. I love Brook. Also, there's a heck of a lot of other food items all over the place. There's like stuff like persimmon, which is probably a fish, I don't know. As well as some beef and chicken and all that jazz. Now that chest you see down there, we're actually not going to be able to get to until we're actually finished the dungeon, because for some reason, I don't think it was a locked door necessarily, but because it's so out of the way to turn off the water and then go all the way back to the beginning of the dungeon, because that's how you get access to those chests. You have to go back to the first entrance room, where there was because we went down the left side in order to progress through the dungeon proper. If you go down the right side, you'll be able to make your way down to the kitchen, which we'll see later when we're done with this dungeon. There's a lot of really terrible foods in there too. For some reason, it's like wormy apples, rank oranges or something. It's probably ripe oranges, but I have to say rank. It's because You know, it's all terrible food down there. Anyways, so we're not going to be able to get those items until later on because I didn't feel inclined to go out of my way to go all the way back. And since you don't immediately get booted out of the castle when you are finished the dungeon, I just felt like get all the stuff on the way. Hopefully you didn't hear that. I had a back cough. Which, on that note, you probably noticed that the music sort of went back to a theme we heard earlier in the playthrough. Thankfully, you'll get the chance to actually hear the actual Terazzi Castle theme later. But for some reason, once you enter that one room where the mouse thing is, which, oh yeah, Filey has Ray, which shoots a bunch of lasers down, so that's really cool. She got that much earlier. She got that fairly earlier in our adventure, like maybe 2 parts ago. I just didn't show it off yet. So there you go, there's Ray. It's pretty cool. Does a lot of damage too. I think it's a light-based attack, so if you're fighting any light enemies, you're probably not. It's probably not wise to use that. She also leveled up. Fitting. But at the end of the dungeon, as I'm going to get those other items, you'll be able to hear the music for Terazzi Castle. Because when you talk to that mouse in the beginning, who apparently charges you 500 to rest, which I guess is kind of funny that a mouse is running an inn, but this Tales of series, I guess anything goes. But yeah, that's kind of all there is to it when it comes to this dungeon. That plant we pushed down earlier is actually going to get us some views right about here. And I'm actually kind of glad I rambled on for as long as I did, because we're about to get to the only interesting part of this dungeon where we actually have an actual puzzle, compared to the previous dungeon where there was a few puzzles. Granted, it was revolved around the same thing, but still. However, this part of the dungeon is kind of out of nowhere. So here's how this works. Once we go through this hallway, there's going to be 12 doors marked with certain images, and they represent the zodiac. All the zodiac symbols. And I guess you have to name them based off of the months they're based off of, I guess. Generally speaking, yeah, I think it's based off of the months, so you have to count your months from January all the way to December, and assign the zodiac to each corresponding month, and then you'll understand the order. I didn't know the order. I had my notes as a means to walk through them. But I did know the symbols themselves, because I watched all of Fairy Tail. I love Fairy Tail, by the way, and all the zodiac symbols were brought up in that game, in that show. I also had the game, but anyways, you'll see all the zodiac symbols. So we'll have Sagittarius, Pisces, Leo, etc. And you have to do it, and you just have to walk through each door in the correct order. I guess you could just sheer force it eventually, because the game does indicate, whenever you go through a door, whether or not you did it correctly, because the door will, light up if you went through the correct door or not. So I guess you could sheer force it eventually, but whatever. All I can say is that I knew the symbols themselves because of watching Fairy Tail, but that's about it. Also, I am a Pisces. I'm fish. And now we gotta fight King Tiberius. So we got our boss fight for this dungeon, and let me tell you this now. Tiberius is going to hurt. Your main focus for this fight starting out is take out that sorceress because she has first aid and she can cast Storm. You can encounter also for some reason that Strong Hammer. It's basically the hammer attack that Leon has, but it covers the entire field. At first I thought it did damage, but that ended up not being the case. But anyways, focus on the sorceress because she can cast Storm and first aid. Not to mention she dies fairly quickly. Tiberius, however, can not only damage you really hard, but also has this crazy attack that he just showed off called Light Slash, where he swings his sword and sends a bunch of like slash waves at you. And if you're fairly low on health, that will knock you out instantly, unless if you're guarding. And even then, I think it could pierce your guard after a few hits. So yeah, Tiberius is not one to mess around. Hit him fast and hit him hard. That's all I can really recommend. And also, make sure you're healing your party members. This is the first time I actually had to use items because of just how quickly the damage racks up thanks to Light Slash. And Leon is about to kick the bucket, so we're gonna drop a lemon gel on him. So use your Tiger Blade and your Force, your kick attacks, whatever. Don't bring Philia into this fight because since Tiberius hits so quickly, you might want to not have her in the battle because if she's just trying to cast spells, she could get interrupted over and over again. Unless the Tiberius doesn't actively chase her, or maybe I guess you can have Philia just stay at the back of the battlefield while you, Rudy, and I guess Leon or Mary are just kicking the snot out of him. So I guess Philia would be a suitable suggestion. Maybe I should have tried that. Oh well, he's dead. No, I mean like he's gonna die. He's like bleeding everywhere. Hey, isn't that the ship from the beginning of the game? What a coward. We came this close. All is not lost. We still have a way. Leon? Where did Lydon go? I don't know. Perhaps I should say, it no longer concerns me. He went to Vandaria. Vandaria? I was fooled. Now I know. I was merely a pawn in his grand scheme. You pathetic old goat. How could you call yourself the great king of Aquavale? Take a good look at yourself, Tiberius, and tell me what you see. This is rich coming from a buffoon like you, Carl. You're right. I was a fool. That's a lesson you learn at the expense of my father. You disgust me. Say whatever you like. I thought I was using the power of the Eye of Atamoni. But in reality, I was the one who was used. How ironic. He used you by promising to fulfill your sick dream of invading Sangald. Dream? I think not. It's not a dream. This will become reality soon enough. Do you dare to stop the winds of change and the demons of destruction? Nothing shall be spared. Everything shall be destroyed. Silence! Even if I end my life here, Sangald shall follow shortly in my footsteps, destroyed by the power of Lydon and the Eye of Atamoni. I said silence, you fool! Leon, what are you doing? I'm sorry, Carl. You should have taken care of him. No problem, man. You just saved me the trouble. Carl, are you alright? Oh, you're too late. The show's over. Nothing to see here. Did you defeat him? Yeah. Eleanor can rest in peace now. I see. Lydon got away with the Eye of Atamani and went to Fandari on the Dragoness. What? We'll go after him. I understand. I'll have Aquavale's Black Cross Navy fleet transport you to Fandaria. That would be great. Thank you. It's nothing. I'm sorry that this is all I can do. Carl, are you going with them? No, I'll stay here. Sorry, Stan. I can't leave Aquavale after seeing how messed up of a place this is. Don't worry, we'll defeat Lydon whether or not you're with us. I thought you'd say something like that. Well, I wasn't much help to you. Yeah, you really weren't. Interesting gameplay style. I get what? Not fully fleshed out. That's actually kind of funny because at this point we've had 3 temporary party members. We've had Gar and Chelsea at the beginning, and even then Chelsea barely lasted a whole 60 seconds. And then we had Carl. Like, the only genuine party members we've had so far are Stan, Rudy, Leon, and Mary. Anyone else? Oh, and Philea too. Anyone else was just extra baggage, I guess. Alright, so I'm just going to leave you with this track for a bit while I'm hunting down the rest of those items. Like when as I'm backtracking. And that's Terazzi's castle theme. Pretty good theme. I question why it was suddenly replaced by the music we already heard earlier. I don't know the name of the track off the top of my head, but yeah, it's weird. Also, that was the revitalized disc. It gets you tractor beam. Don't equip it. You don't need to. I just wanted to show that it's there in case you wanted tractor beam on somebody, but I don't think you need that. Stan and Leon's got stat buffs, and Rudy's going with Firestorm. But anyways, that's going to do it for now. Now that we defeated King Tiberius, even though we sort of only just met the dude. All we got left is Lydon now, so next time on Tales of Destiny, we're going to be tracking down Lydon again in hopes of finally putting this whole mission to an end. So until then, I gotta juice.